Hello, everyone, and welcome to KV Psychic Intelligence. My name is KV, and if this is your first time here on the channel, I want to let you know that I do psychic readings a little bit differently. Instead of pulling tarot cards, what I will be doing is leveraging numbers. Now, all of the numbers that you see here and will continue to see in the reading will all be relative to one number, and that is called general intensity. Now, consider general intensity as the baseline reading for indicating a potential. And so if you're familiar with radio frequencies expressed on the spectrum analyzer, you have your static noise, and anything that has any kind of high amplitude will peak at or above general intensity. And consider that a high probability. Anything that is below general intensity, close or near zero, consider that a low probability. And so going forward, all of the numbers will be compared to this number. And if you stick around, I'll also give you an insight on how I get these numbers. And so for this reading today, the general intensity is 12. So if you take a look at this zodiacal matrix here, and if you see your zodiac sign, if it's at or above this number, then consider this a little bit more of a confirmation that this reading is for you. And also for the particular signs that I have that is at or above general intensity, I also checked the house and the ruling planet just to see if I'm getting some readings in that as well. And so I have a 12 for the first house, which means that there's a high probability that this could be impacting first house. And also here, I also have Saturn energy, Uranus energy, and also 11th house energy. And so after I did the reading, I did a little post analysis to come back. And the post analysis I'm getting here is that this could be something that could affect identity and appearance. Seeing that we have Saturn energy in here as well, this is also an indicator that perhaps you need to be a little bit patient. And also here, there is also a change on the way in regards to a future goal. Now, I've also went into some elementals as well, just to kind of get a more fine-tuned picture in regards to the elements that's in here. We definitely for sure have fire and earth energy as well. So the fire energy I'm getting is more in regards to the action, the momentum, and then the earth energy I'm getting is more of the stability in regards to the Saturn. So things just having a little bit of a delay, things just taking time to come in. All right, so let's get started with the reading. So for your ease, I brought the general intensity here on this page just so we can compare it easily over here. And what I'm going to be looking at first now is the overall general resonance and specifically the energetic flow. So this is a measurement of the collective's manifestation momentum. This is an indicator to tell us what kind of energy is coming in right now. And so looking at the primary category, we see that the energetic flow is at a 15, which tells us that there is active energy coming in right now for the collective. And so now what I want to do is pull out the subcategories to see of this particular number, what is really coming in for the collective. Okay. So I want to start with the lowest here. Since the opportunities is the only one that is below general intensity, it's not necessarily telling me what I'm getting from this particular reading. It's not telling me that opportunities aren't coming in. What it's really telling me is that of all of the categories that is coming in, opportunity seems to be the slowest of what's coming in, which is also a confirmation of that Saturn energy I was picking up earlier. And so now what we're going to do is look into the collective's desire. So this is a general reading that gives me an insight on what the collective is wanting to have manifest in their reality. Okay. Okay. So seeing that the desires we're not seeing much in regarding relationship or connections, but the highest here I'm also seeing finances and stability. So this could be a new job opportunity. This could be an entrepreneurial aspect. This could be anything in regards to the foundation. So one's home stability. in that regard. And seeing that we also have opportunities here that is slightly above general intensity tells me that the collective is in fact desiring an opportunity. So seeing that we have this desire of opportunity above general intensity, however, the energetic flow in regards to opportunity is the lowest, is I would say a more of an added confirmation in regards to that Saturn energy where things are just taking its time to come in. And so now we're going to go into the capacity to receive. So this is a measurement of the collective's energetic readiness to receive the manifestations that's coming in for them. And so now we're going to take a look at the primary category. And we see that at a 20. So this is an indicator telling me that the collective is in fact at a capacity to receive the active energy that's coming in for them right now. And so now looking into 4 subcategories, I want to pull out a more specific fine-tuned picture of what exactly is the collective in at a capacity to receive. Okay, so seeing that we have all of the categories at or above general intensity, the reason why I have the opportunities and clarity and communication underlined here is because the impressions I was getting when I did these particular numbers was more so waiting for like hearing back in regards to like a job, for instance, hearing back in terms of an opportunity or action taken to attain a specific opportunity. So that's why I have those two underlined there. But again, seeing that this is at above general intensity is an indicator that the collective is open and at a capacity to receive all of the energetics that's coming in for them right now. And so now what I want to look into are the collective's friction points. Now this will be broken down into 2 categories. We have the internal and external friction points. And so here on this page, we'll be looking at the internal primary category. And we have that at a 15. So this is telling me that regarding the energetic flow, some of the friction points that could be, I want to say, affecting the manifestations coming in could be an internal factor. And so what I want to do is look into this number to pull out a couple subcategories to see what could be yielding this number. Okay. So when I was doing these numbers and afterwards, I got an impression artifact. That artifact was more so the thoughts of anxious and overthinking. And so this internal friction that I've been picking up specifically in regards to the energetic flow isn't a block per se. It's more so just an internal response or reaction that the collective is having right now. And to see that I was picking up anxieties and also overthinking, this could be more so related to the collective's readiness to receive the opportunities. They could be overthinking, am I going to get the job? Am I going to get the call? Just thoughts of that nature. And so this would be more so an added confirmation. So if you are looking for a job opportunity or just any kind of opportunity and are having some kind of anxious thoughts or just overthinking it, I just want to add just a little bit more of a confirmation that it is a little bit of Saturn energy coming in, just some delays, but overall, I'm still feeling that it's coming in. It's just taking a little bit longer than perhaps you are accustomed to or you would be expecting. And so now looking at the external friction points here, looking at the primary category, and I see this at a 7. So seeing this below general intensity tells me that the primary friction points that the collective is experiencing is coming more from an internal sense and not external. However, I still want to look into a couple subcategories to figure out should there be any kind of external friction manifesting in the collective's reality, then what most likely would express itself as that external friction. Okay. Now, seeing that overall the external friction is below general intensity is a good indicator. However, when I was seeing this disruption, I wasn't necessarily seeing this as a bad thing. I was more so seeing this and confirming that Uranus energy the where the changes, the abrupt changes are also coming in. So seeing that we also have a little bit of that Saturn energy, which is that delay. We also have Uranus coming in, which could be serving this disruption. But again, seeing that the overall external is below general intensity tells me this isn't a friction point per se, but this disruption may yield the opportunities to come in a more quicker fashion, thus counteracting that Saturn energy. And so now what we will look into is the catalyst trigger. This is more so the advice or remedy in regards to the friction points that the collective is experiencing. Okay. So seeing that the actions, the catalyst trigger, and all of them are below general intensity tells me that there really isn't much action that the collective can take right now at this moment. However, seeing that we do have taking action here, which is close to general intensity, tells me that the collective is at a point to where they have already done what they needed to do. And so this is more so just an added confirmation to let you know that you don't really have to overthink it or stay in your head, because there isn't much action to be taken. It's more so just a patience type of deal here. And so now what I want to do is go into the event impact window. This is an indicator that gives us more of a timeline on where the collective should begin to expect peak movement or peak manifestations coming in. All right. So seeing we have the next new moon and the next full moon, but it definitely for sure peaks around the next new moon. So the collective should begin to see or expect some kind of manifestations or changes to their reality to happen around the next new moon and the next full moon. And it then begins to taper off after that. And so that's your window right there. Next new moon and next full moon. All right. And that is your reading. Thank you so much for tuning in and sticking it out. I really appreciate it. If this is your reading or if it vibed or resonate, go ahead and subscribe, like, and share it if you have to. And also add some comments. If this vibe and resonate with you, I'd like to hear it. And yeah, if you stick around now, I'll also go into now how I get these particular numbers. But if you're just here for the reading, that's okay. You can cut off right now. The reading has been concluded. And again, thank you so much for tuning in at this point. But now, yeah, we'll go into how I get these numbers. All right, had to adjust and quickly grabbed a couple things. So the technology that I use is something called Radionics. That's Radionics. Now, consider Radionics as a very high precision, sensitive, psychic radio, where a practitioner, for all intents and purposes, tune into specific energetic structures based on their intent. Now, you may be familiar with pendulum users and how a pendulum can respond based on the intent the operator holds, such as a yes or no question. With radionics instruments, it's a little bit more hands-on, to where the practitioner use what's called stick pads. Now, stick pads are a way for the operator to use their subtle energy just like a pendulum user would, but it's more hands-on, to where the operator will hold in their mind a specific intent, and based on the sensation that they receive, based on the response of their intent, they will have a response called a stick. And a stick is more so, it's literally like a sticky sensation. Like if you imagine having like the white Elmer's glue, right? And if you had like a glob of glue just kind of clump up in your hands, that kind of feeling in your hand, that's kind of what it feels like with these sticks. And underneath the hood, if I show you, this is let me show you. Underneath the hood, these particular pads use certain wiring configurations, and as you can see, as I'm stroking against the pad, I'm actually getting an electric type of field. It's more so a scalar potential, but I don't want to get too deep into that. But even if even if I even if I move it against it, there is still some residual energy that's left on the stick pad. And what the operator is effectively doing is that they're tuning into energetic structure. So I want to show you what a radionics instrument looks like now. This is my first radionics instrument. I have long since built my own and constructed my own protocol, but this is effectively how I get the numbers. So what I would do is with my instrument, I would basically tune it to the collective consciousness with the specific intent. So, okay, let me tune into the collective consciousness and let me pull out a message that is most needed now. And then after I get that stick, hold on to that stick. Okay, what is the intensity of the collective consciousness? Da, 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 da. Okay, I got a stick. Now, when I get the stick, I'll write that down as general intensity. And then I go into the categories. Okay, energetic flow, got a stick. Okay, opportunities. Okay, got a stick. And okay, get the intensity. Okay, got a stick. And I just write that number down. And that's all what it is there. It's just tuning into radio stations, if you will, and capturing the amplitude. And how the way the stick, I would say, if you are more visual type of person, if you imagine, if you will, a tornado or a funnel cloud, where you have the large part of the funnel cloud and then it starts to tighten up right there. So this is effectively what the stick is. So this is like the operator tuning into a specific intent. Okay. And then as soon as I start to turn the dials, and as soon as I get a lock, that's the operator getting that more fine-tuned lock right there to the tip of the funnel, and that is the stick. And again, the stick is a sensation. It's an undeniable sensation. It's literally like a friction. Like as my hands can glide freely on this, as I start to focus the intent, there starts to build up a resistance, and that resistance is coming from the field that's being generated off of these things. And you know, these things are like really sensitive. If you are interested on what's underneath, it's something called a Mobius coil. I'll show you my tensor ring here. A Mobius coil is effectively a wiring of a positive and negative that cancels each other out, and it creates a scalar potential. And so it's like there isn't much a traverse of positive and negative. It just creates a still in place type of signal. And that still in place type of signal is very wonderful for us energy workers, because it allows us to really work with scalar potentials here. If you are interested in the art and science of radionics, here's a little resource here. This is a book that shows you how to actually build your own. This is Pete Radati, fantastic guy, brilliant, love the guy, and he created his own book to where it shows you how to build these things yourself. And it gives you a little Amazon shopping list. And these things cost about, I would say, $50 to construct. This isn't a super expensive type of technology. Now, again, if you go to KRT, yeah, it could get expensive because it's like, certain quality and, things in there. But, you can build these yourself, so it's not something that's strictly for, a certain select group of people. In fact, I want to show you what the innards of these things look like. Yeah, here we go. So this is effectively what the innards look like. I mean, it's just potentiometers, which are like the dials, and then they're wired up to crystals with copper coil around them. And this thing here is effectively what this is. It's just a stick. This isn't a Mobius coil. This is just regular wiring. But again, that works too. It works too. It's just another way of doing it. But it's just an added indicator that you can build these things yourself. Yeah, and that's it. I just use Radionics. I use Radionics to capture these readings and stuff. Now, I also want to make a clear point here. Radionics, just like tarot, just like runes, and just like pendulums, are only as effective as the operator using it. And the reason why I want to make that point clear is because I am not intending on saying that this is like an end-all be-all silver bullet type of solution. This is just a way, just like tarot users, just like rune users and pendulum users. It is just another way of doing the things we psychics and intuitives love to do. But radionics is a lot more powerful than what is actually used here for the readings. You can do a lot more with radionics than just reading things. But if you are interested, it just open the door for you that you can look these things up yourself. But if you are interested still, and if you are like a tarot practitioner or a psychic reader and things of that nature, I would say at the very least this would enhance the practice. Again, I'm not saying that radionics is any more or less better than what anyone is currently doing. I'm just saying that it's just another way of doing it, right? Just like when you saw the readings here, the readings had astrology and other type of elemental things in there, and it's just another way of expressing the data. A tarot card reader can just as effective get better readings than a radionics practitioner would. I mean, it's just another way of doing the things. And so if you are interested, feel free to look it up. It's called Radionics. Again, you can build these things yourself, and I would say if you do build it yourself, I want to say it may not be a scary thing. It's not a scary thing. I don't want to point it out as something that's super sophisticated, because I don't have an electric engineering degree, or I don't do anything in regards to electrical engineering. In fact, my first hands-on experience doing this was with radionics, and I was just kind of learning and doing things along the way. But it was pretty fun, especially the whole process of creation, just building my own instrument. And effectively, like I built my 5th custom model here. And it gets fun, especially when you really understand what these things really are under the hood and have that aha realization moment yourself. I'm not going to spoil it. You can get it yourself. It's better that way. But, when you have that aha realization yourself, it's like, man, it gets fun, But yeah, that's the thing about radionics. I'll also go a little bit into my background. So if you just want to hear about how I did it, you can cut it off now. It's fine. But I also want to add that I started all of this not out of doing tarot. I do, this is like the psychic reading stuff. I do this for fun, but this started out of a legitimate need for me to psychically vet the people in my circle. And so I don't want to go too deep into like my spiritual journey and things of that nature, but effectively in hindsight, I learned that I had a lot of family members who were abusing their spiritual and psychic abilities. And I was basically left in the dark for decades, and I had to figure out all of this stuff on my own. And when I started my spiritual journey and left 2 time zones away, things just started to fall in line and really, just came in full circle with me. And when I discovered radionics a couple years ago, I just honed that craft, and eventually I just got to the point where I was like, how can I psychically vet the people in my circle? And after doing that, that's when I came out with the first iterations of the psychic reports, which my offer on my website, they're currently 50% off at $30. But what I do is I look into a lot of energetic factors. So I look at energetic potentials. I don't care about the expression that is seen. I tap specifically into the energies. And so what I do is I look into things like the personality. I look into the mindsets. Do they have growth mindset, creative mindset, an abundance mindset? I look into emotional intelligence. That, to me, is very important. I know that this may be presented as a logical left brain type of style, but I consider myself a balanced individual. And so when it comes to interacting with me, I really, 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 really pay attention to one's emotional intelligence. Are they empathic? Are they narcissistic? Do they have the propensity to even understand you? Do they respect boundaries? Do they fake ignorance, that weaponized incompetence the youngins talk about today? These are very important things. And it was this factor here, this faking of ignorance, that really catapulted me into beginning to begin iterating on my reports, because I was looking into factors like one's conscious and unconscious awareness of their psychic abilities. Because it's like we all have psychic abilities. We all have ESP. We all have ways of moving things with the mind. Psychokinesis, you can see, got a little side wheel here. But we all have these abilities. It's like we can run, but then a runner may choose to jog and may choose to run track. It's just choosing or wanting to hone and better those skills. And when I really started to investigate the conscious and unconscious awareness of people's psychic abilities, it fell into two categories. Either they were aware of the things that they did, or they were unaware of the things that they were doing and were more so influenced by groupthink or just the energetic influences. It's like people can have the ability of, man, I was just thinking about that pizza, and as soon as I walk in, I see you opening the door, having a pizza. That's precognition, but it was in an unconscious state. Or it's more so like people sitting in their meditative session actively engaging precognition and calling it out, saying, okay, I know this person's going to get a pizza. So we all, again, we possess these abilities. And so my biggest pain point here when it came to investigating this was this faking of ignorance, because I found out time and time again that a lot of people know the things they do and know how they go about doing the things that they do. And when it came to really analyzing narcissists and things, one pattern that was very heavy that I would pick up on a lot was this experience where narcissists would, in one way or another, feel that they're the only ones that somehow are aware and know how to manipulate energy and things of that nature. And so I got really tired of that. And what I do is I just vet the energy now. Consider it as like an apple seed, right? If I have an apple seed, am I going to wait for the seed to then sprout as a tree, drop apples, and then finally, after the fact, after all of that time and energy, say that apple seed was in fact an apple seed? Or I could take the energetic potential, which is the seed itself, and basically decide to discard it. And that's how I look at all of these energetic potentials that I pull out on the people. I look at their motivators. Are they intrinsically, extrinsically motivated? Do they hold on to any prejudices? And I basically crafted an entire protocol that allows me to have a more fine-tuned picture on the energetic potentials when it comes to engaging with certain people. Again, a narcissist isn't going to tell you they're a narcissist. You will find that out further after the fact, when you're stuck with them, when you have a kid with them, or just when it's too late. I look at energetic potentials, and if I see potentials that's coming out that's indicating a potential narcissist, I move accordingly and not even engage. And so I look at things such as interpersonal experiences as well. What is it like to be around that individual? Do they have the propensity to develop an environment of wellness, balance, harmony, stability, synergy? Very important if you're looking to build relationships with people or looking to connect with people to actually have in your circle that could potentially motivate you to do things. Or do they create dysfunction, chaos, intimidation, degradation? Does things break down around them? Do they have the propensity to drain your life force energy? So when you're around this individual, or if you're living with them, do you suddenly lack the motivation to even get up and do anything? Could be an indicator that they're draining your life force energy. Do they hijack and distract your attention when you're around them? Or if you're walking past them, do they suddenly turn up the TV and volume on the TV? Do they suddenly start to increase the volume of their voice when you're around to try to get you to pay attention to them? Do they suddenly jerk and do movements in certain weird ways to try to get your, to get the corner of your eye looking at them? All little things like that. And you're not crazy. You know exactly what I'm talking about when I say these things. It's those very little subtle things that people meticulously do to where it's subtle enough to have an impact on you, but subtle enough that should you ever speak up on it and make you look crazy. Those little things. And so I don't play those games. I go into the energetic potentials and look at all of those things. And if I see numbers that indicates narcissists, indicates energy vampires, that indicates people that's going to try to block me, make me stagnant, stuck, get in my way, break my focus, break my flow, I use these numbers and I move accordingly. And that's effectively how I started all of this. It was just a means for me to psychically vet again. And I realized after the fact, after having a ton of reports on family members and things, that this could really help a lot of people. I kept a lot of this stuff to myself. In fact, this is my first time speaking up on it, and I would say second because it is on my website, which is the first time I spoke up on it. But I kept a lot of this to myself, and still family members don't even know I have reports on them because, again, it's like the Hawthorne effect. You know, I'm not gonna tell people or anything I have reports on them, and I keep these to myself because a lot of these things really do play out. It really, like, the numbers and things I get really confirms itself in the move that people make around me. This isn't me holding in my mind an expectation or particular bias because, again, when I get the stick, I get the stick. I don't think about it or anything like that. It's like I tune into a category. When I get that stick, I write it down and I don't analyze it. Even if my bias tries to come in, it's like I still write it down. It's like after the fact, I'll go in and review it. It's like, I can see how this could be. And it just confirms itself. And that's how it really worked out for me. And then after the fact, after really getting that confidence, because again, I've been doing this for a couple years, I just decided, why not do psychic readings? Just have a little bit of fun with it, And so that's how now the KV Psychic Intelligence YouTube channel started. It was just a means for me to, kind of showcase what it is I do behind the scenes in regards to my psychic reports, and just, do it in a fun collective consciousness psychic reading type of style. And yeah, that's it. If you're interested, feel free to check out my website. It's in the description. I offer psychic readings. So the readings that you saw here in this particular video, it's the same. It's just, instead of it being collective consciousness, it's more specific to you. I'll do an MP3 recording of a summarization of the psychic reading so you can follow along as you get the PDF of all the numbers and stuff. And again, it's the same style. Again, I am adjusting and adapting along the way. And so, these things may change in the future. I'm just getting a feel for it and just adjusting and adapting accordingly. The psychic readings are $30. And I also do the psychic intelligence reports, which are 50% off right now at $30. And so, again, if you're interested in that, feel free to check out my website. Everything is there. Even goes into a little bit of my own little background history story that if you're interested as well, that's fine too. But yeah, again, if you found this to be informative, or if you really do like this style of psychic reading, feel free to subscribe. I would really appreciate that because, I like this stuff. I like watching psychic readings and tarot readings and things on YouTube, and I figured, hey, since I like doing this, since I like watching this stuff, let me introduce, kind of my style of, how I do things. Again, since I am primarily a radionics practitioner, I thought, hey, why not, add a unique fusion of the science and art of radionics with the, the creativity of radionics, with the creativity of psychic and, tarot readings. So yeah, and that's KV Psychic Intelligence. So again, thank you all so much for taking the time to watch this video, and you all take care now.